Do you prefer Matt or Matthew?
Most people call me Matt. Everybody refers to me as Matt Riley, so I'll go with Matt. But
Do you
I don't have a
prefer?
preference,
You don't have a
which is
preference.
why everybody just calls me Matt because it's easier. But
So do when someone calls you Matt versus Matthew, is it a different sensation? Like, are you surprised when someone calls you Matthew?
actually, yes. Generally, when people call me Matthew, I am surprised.
And what's the surprise there? Why does it make you feel different?
It feels more direct, if that makes any sense. It seems like the person is really trying to get my attention, whereas saying Matt's just super casual. It's hey Matt. Whereas Matthew, it's like it's the I'm talking to you right now. That you're the person that I'm trying to reach. I don't think I have a preference. It really growing up, I always preferred Matthew, but nobody like did that. None of my friends called me Matthew, so I just dropped it. I didn't. This was when I was like 4. I was like, oh, call me Matthew, but Matt is fine. Matt is. I'm totally all right with that. So.
What about your name in general? Like, what does it mean to you? Like, what does it represent about you?
Growing up, I was told I grew up from a religious background. I'm not super religious these days, but Matthew means God's gift. But my grandmother told me that I was always the peacemaker amongst my siblings and in most scenarios. So I view it kind of as that. I'm kind of the middleman, the guy who tries to keep the peace. That's what I think Matthew means to me.
Do you enjoy being in that position?
There are days I don't. Right? It can be a lot. And even now, I mentioned it to you earlier, like the past 7.5 months of my life, on paper, there's been a lot of things out of my control that, I can't be the peacekeeper for necessarily, but I still have the tendency to try to do that. And there's that dissonance in my mind of, I want to help. I want to be the peacekeeper, but I'm failing because this is totally out of my control. And relinquishing some of that is probably better. It's certainly something that I still strive to do because I think seeing the middle ground, what lies between the two extremes is the truth. There's one of those famous philosophers, I think Aristotle, right? I think there's a lot of work done when you look at both sides and try to find the peace in the middle of it.
Absolutely. And in that, you said you failed, even though it was something that was out of your control. So how do you feel like you failed?
I know it's not on paper, it's probably not a failure, right? Like everybody would be like, that's just, there's nothing you could have done about it. But I hold myself to fairly high standards. And when things don't go wrong, it's tough for me not to internalize it. And that's one of those things that I've been working on, right? Like, how can I be the person who, when things go wrong in my life, be okay with them, let them be, and not try to fix everything, right? I don't need to always be the peacekeeper, and nor should it be my responsibility to always be the peacekeeper.
And it becoming a responsibility, I'm just guessing, is a product of who you were as a younger person and what the dynamic in your family was like.
Yeah, so I was the middle child, and having an older sibling, a younger sibling, I was always the person to create the game, create the thing that we were doing, and bring them together. And I still do that in all areas of my life. I'm usually the creative, the person creating things and pulling people together. But for my siblings, it really was, how do I make these two people enjoy each other's company? Because I enjoy both of their company, and usually it ends up being separate, but I want them to do things together. So like that's been the approach I grew up with, and then just carried on into my adult life.
And is that something that you're trying to shift out of, that kind of responsibility, that role?
Not necessarily entirely, right? But recognize the areas where I need to shift out of it, because not every scenario needs that middleman to pull people together. And it's also important for me to realize, I've done this in a few ways where like the middleman stuff isn't working. Some people just don't want to be a part of whatever it is that you're trying to make them be a part of. And that's fine too, right? There's nothing wrong with that. It's just realizing that and stepping back is important, and it's a balance, right? And balance isn't 50-50. It's somewhere mixed in between that you have to figure out for yourself.
And it's always shifting. I mean, no problem is ever resolved after one conversation, right? After one moment, and so it's just having the patience to navigate that kind of consistently. So let's say that you're successful in that you kind of do step back and you find a way to mitigate that loss of time and energy in your life. And what do you think that would do for you? How do you think it would change your life?
So as of where I'm at right now, I think it would make me less anxious. This year has been tough. There's just been things that have been thrown at me that I can't control. Suicide attempts, family issues, multiple breakups, lots of things out of my control entirely. And to step back, I think is one of those things that I think would make me less anxious, right? Because I'm so worried about always fixing everything, and that it creates a lot of anxiety because you can't fix anything. You got to stress about the things that you can't fix if you're trying to fix everything.
You talked about balance before. You spend X amount of time trying to fix other people's problems. You mentioned that in the last year you've pivoted to really trying to focus on yourself. I guess there's a two-part question. One, what was the balance like a year ago, right? On others versus you, and where is it at now, and then where would you like it to be?
That's a loaded question. Where was I a year ago?
A year ago, yeah, with that balance.
I think a year ago I would have probably held on to some situations for longer and tried to fix them for longer. I still obviously have those tendencies, but I think, especially even the last 3 months, I've said to myself, no, I have to take a step back. And one way I've been doing that is just telling other people that need it. Like, I can't be the person to help. You need to seek out this person for this reason, right? Without giving away too many specifics. Like, it's one of those things where offering my help sometimes is saying, I'm not really involved in this situation. I can't help. Here's who might be able to.
So you kind of talked around the question of the balance of you versus others, and but what I kind of reading between the lines is that you're really focused on other people, like you're really focused on that external part, and again, there's obviously been a shift, and some of the things you mentioned, I'm sure, shook you to your core and really made you reflect and really question your life and what's going on around you, and it sounds like it's inspired in internal reflection more so than in any other time in your life maybe, and firstly just to say that's amazing, because that is it's the start of something new, right? And the start of you really understanding yourself, and it's a lifelong journey, but there are moments along it that are really powerful and significant. And I guess I'd just offer that while clearly this year has been extremely tough, like the outcome of it, the result, I think will pay dividends exponentially as time goes on. So kudos to that. But so let's talk about the balance again. So clearly you're overwhelmed with the external, and I guess I just want to affirm that, like, it's better to shift that balance, right? Like it's that very basic analogy of an airplane. If you pull your oxygen mask down first, and we're told it in many ways throughout our lives, but we don't listen because we feel we have to show up. We feel there's a responsibility, and by the way, in families there is, and that's difficult, right? And with friends and whatnot. But you will never be able to help them in the best way possible if you are not in your best way possible. So again, I'll go back to that balance. Like, shifting to you. Like, let's say that balance shifted magically, and 10% of your energy was exerted on other people, and 90% was exerted on you. How do you think that would change your life?
I don't know. It's tough. So I look at. I wrote down in my journal sometime this year. The biggest self-help tactic that nobody talks about is service to others. Mm-hmm. I think serving others is big, but I think it's also important to understand when to serve people and who needs the service. So looking at it from that standpoint, the 90-10%, maybe you're serving people 10% of the time. Mm-hmm. Maybe that is the right balance for me at the moment. I don't know the percentages. I think they're not 100% relevant, right? You're giving me an example.
It's just an idea, yeah.
But
just a way to look at it, like how, like if it was that extreme, whether that's the right number or not, like that opposite extreme, like how do you think it would change how you navigate life and how you feel about life?
Yeah, I think I would wake up with fewer thoughts in my head, being concerned about, the well-being of a lot of people. And I'm not saying that's bad, but it can be when it's all the time. Mm-hmm. When you've got your own problems to fix, your own health to take care of, and your own goals to work on, right? Mm-hmm. You can't pull other people out when you're trying to work on your stuff, and you can't do both at the same time. You can't. So I would say it'd probably be quieter up here, but I don't know for sure.
Mm-hmm. Let's pivot. Let's assume there are many multiverses, right? There's many universes, and in those universes is a spectrum of you, right? There's you right now, and let's just say you're in the middle of it, right? You're right in the middle of that spectrum, and on the opposite end is just someone who is just successful in all the ways, whatever. Like we can kind of get to that. And on the opposite end, it's like the worst case scenario, right? What would have, this would be several parts in this question, but to get to the worst case scenario, to get to that universe, like what do you think would have had to have gone wrong for you? Would go wrong for you that would put you in that place?
I think the answer is pretty clear to me. I had a friend say to me recently, who knows a lot of what I've experienced, is, I don't know how you're still so positive through it. Mm-hmm. So I think it would be if I got bitter. Mm-hmm. That's what would turn me down that path where, okay, everything went wrong in this multiverse because he got bitter. He gave up. He stopped believing that people are good. I would say I tend towards optimism, sometimes overly optimistic. I mean, I quit my job without a business plan years ago. So there is an aspect where, betting on myself and other people is a big reason I am where I am today, and why I'm not bitter, resentful, and
that must be and I resonate with that, because I'm very similar in that way. But sometimes it's hard. You do have to work to be optimistic. You do have to really. It's a lot of effort to believe that, as you said, there's good in people, and that the good will come, and things will improve, and it's very difficult at times. And I guess, how do you navigate those moments when you have this general disposition, which I think is wonderful. But how do you navigate those moments where you're like really pulled away from it, and like I'm clearly wrong. Like I've been wrong this whole time.
Yeah. So those moments I feel bitter or resentful or angry, my main form of therapy for that is music. I listen to a lot of metal, but I also play music. And as soon as I write something, the feeling it's transferred into that song. And now it's not fully like clean cut and it's gone, but it really helps me understand what I'm feeling, why I'm feeling it. And then on the other hand is, like I'm mentioning, playing heavy music, but on the other hand, there's also positive music, and understanding that music's emotion, and we all share emotions, and things change and they're not static, right? Nobody's all good or all bad. that'd be impossible. We're all imperfect, and in a good way, right? We want to be that perfectly imperfect human because that's what makes us human.
Absolutely, it makes us individual, right? Like there's spectrums to everything, and we are all on multiple spectrums at the same time, and all at very different places on them. So you said earlier you journal, and you obviously write music, and you sing the music out loud, right? Do you talk to yourself out loud?
Every now and then I'll journal using voice to text. So in a way, yes, but generally I don't talk to myself out loud.
Would you feel uncomfortable doing that?
Not, well, I'm gonna say actually probably a little bit. Are you familiar with reparenting? It's a
No.
therapy technique. And reparenting is basically giving yourself the grace and understanding that maybe your parents didn't while you were growing up. And some of that can be just when you're feeling down about yourself or something bad happens to you, just, say your name and just sit in it like you're okay. So there's different ways of approaching that. I generally don't talk to myself out loud. Usually it is in the form of poetry and music and all of that. And I've been able to communicate some of my emotions better through a guitar on the fretboard than words frequently. So I would say the music piece kind of fills in that. It's a language to me. It always has been. In high school, I gave a talk on how I thought music is a language, and it is almost a universal language. You can play a certain song to many people, and they're going to experience that feeling, and that's kind of why I think I gravitate towards that so much, is that I could tell anyone my story with loud noises or an acoustic guitar or whatever it might be.
What drew you to music in the first place?
I think when I saw Metallica and Nirvana, I was astounded by their loudness. I felt frequently throughout my life I had to be not the loud one, right? Being that peacekeeper, you try to almost stay out of the way. You be the middleman, you maintain, and you don't get in the way. And I think the loudness was the opposite of my personality. I'm sitting here having a conversation with you right now, but when I was younger, I was pretty shy. In kindergarten, my grandmother taught me, and I wasn't confident enough to ask her what she wanted me to address her as in kindergarten. So I would always start every question with rather than Mrs. Riley or grandma. Like I couldn't figure it out. Everybody else was calling her Mrs. Riley. She's my grandmother. I'm not going to call her anything other than grandma, right? So I was a very shy kid, but I think the music that I found at an early age showed me that it's okay to be loud, and especially in a controlled, maintained way. And I think a lot of people who don't like metal or those genres will look at those genres and, it's all just screaming. But I view it as very controlled. It's complex. There's layers to it, and I can understand it. And once I developed that appreciation for metal and punk rock and all of that, it led into other genres of music. I could see why jazz makes sense. I can see why country and pop makes sense. So now my music taste is much beyond what I initially got into. But I think it was that ability to be fully you in whatever scenario it was that you wanted to be you in, right? That you're not going to walk into a metal show and be judged for wearing whatever you choose to wear. And most of us just choose to wear all black, but you don't necessarily need to. You can show up in a blue shirt and nobody's going to judge you. We're all going to pick you up if you fall down in the pit. And that's something that I really think pulled me into that style of music in particular, but then music in general.
It's a community with a language you resonated with.
Exactly.
And so, we talked about the negative end of the spectrum being the bitter side, and the other side is best case scenario. Like, what would have to change in your life for that to be the case?
What would have to change?
What would be different for that to be the case? And it could be many things, of course, but
it's tough because I'm working on getting towards the best case, right? So, in a sense, I'm making those changes. I think, which would be those moments of knowing when to step back, and also leaning into more me things and more self-care things that allow me to serve others better. So that's meditation, that's journaling, that's waking up at a normal time, which is tough as a musician, but I think the self-care, the healthy habits of running races and even for me, I think a big one that I'm getting very close to is releasing more music. So I have a live EP that's coming out this Friday with my band, and there's 2 songs in there that I helped write, and I wrote all the guitar parts too, and those are stories and emotions that I'm able to share and get out into the world. I think so often I sit down with my acoustic guitar and nobody ever hears these songs, and my goal really is to get more of that out there and share more of me rather than trying to fix other people's problems. It's here's this song that I wrote about this idea. Like maybe this will help you, maybe not, but I think that's where I'm headed. It's put more out of me, and even in my business, right? That's put out more content for my clients that is positive and moves society forward rather than backwards. So that's kind of the things I work on, right? It's the person who strives to do good in all areas of his life, not just making other people's lives better.
And what do you hope people take away from your music? Like what feeling do you think you hope they're left with?
I believe that once a song is out there, it's no longer mine, and I think that's what makes a song, right? It's when the person who listens to it hears it and puts a story of their own to it. I don't want them to fully experience the pain I had. I want them to take the pain that they had and relate it to the song that I wrote. I think that's really what I want from my music, and I think there's obviously stories and ideas that people relate to. Our first single that we're going to release is called Funeral for My Better Half. And I was on a run and I had this idea for a song. I was listening to music and I stopped my music and I start heading home because I'm having this song idea. I'm having a guitar part, I'm having melody, like the lyrics are coming to me. Funeral for My Better Half was a song that I came up with about being one of those days where you feel like a failure and you're just so sick of being a failure that you decide to do away with the good parts of you and just lean in fully to being a failure, because then at least you're successful with it, right? Funeral for your better half is the good parts of yourself, not a partner. But one thing I realized is when I gave some of my lyrics to our singer, she took them and made them where you could interpret it in a different way if you wanted to. And that's great. That's brilliant. That's exactly what I want from music. And it's a song that is a piece of me, and the rest of my band came together and wrote the best parts for it. I play with extremely talented people who are better musicians than I am, which is super important. And now we have this song that I think carries a very special meaning to me. And I'm able to relate that at music festivals for suicide prevention and stuff that I'm running. But also I think when the crowd hears it and pays attention to the lyrics or even just the guitar parts, they feel something, they can write their own story to it. And that's kind of what I want.
In a word, you want people to connect with it.
Yeah.
Connect the parts of themselves that connect with the parts of yourself that you shared in the music. So what does connection mean to you?
That's a loaded question. What does connection mean to me? I think it's kind of the definition of like a good friend to me would be someone who believes in you more than you believe in yourselves. Right? I think most humans experience quite a bit of self-doubt, which is good. It's healthy. You should experience some self-doubt. But to have someone believe in you more than you believe in yourself is a pretty good way to connect with somebody. And I think that goes other ways too, right? Like I just mentioned that I think my band is full of people who are more talented than I am, and that is the truth. That's what I feel, and I think if I asked them that, if they believe that, they probably would say no, if I had to guess. But it is that balance of, can you believe in people who don't believe in themselves as much, right? Like, and I think that's where I see real connection. It's that growth together, when you're able to grow together and challenge each other because you believe in them, right? I think that's real connection.
What do you think about, I guess, the world today, our species, when it comes to connection? Like, where do you think we stand on that spectrum?
I think we are fooling ourselves in saying that we're connected. And we can make all these connections on LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook. But most people fail to be social on social. And this is something I say in work, but in life in general, like, we are not connecting with people as well as we used to. We're not doing in-person things. We're not getting out there. And this is part of why you're doing what you're doing, right? We're seeing a decline in the amount of human experiences that we're putting ourselves into. And I think one of the things that scares me with AI is, even the little thing of like, I don't know what to say to this person. What should I say? And them getting back this answer, and then a human regurgitates an AI answer or response or apology, and you lose out on the very thing that makes you human, which is making mistakes and growing and learning from the mistakes and having to apologize, whatever it might be. So I would say, as much as I see that, I do see the other side of, there's people like you and I out here who try to put together real live events and then also bring good onto social media and be social on social. So I think there's areas you can find it. I think it's just harder than it used to be. But it's not fully gone, and it never will go away. I think right now the businesses that will be successful 10 years from now are the businesses that are leaning into people first, doing the unscalable things, right? You can't scale to 1 billion events a day because there's only so many people, and the space, time, there's so many constraints. Whereas AI, it could write you 1 billion event ideas in hours, right? Or whatever it might be. 1 billion's a big number, but you get my point. You can have endless event ideas from AI or even social media. You can have all these ideas, but the real stuff that's going to come out, I think, is going to be the people who lean into the real unscalable human aspects of life.
So let's say we continue careening on this path of disconnection, right? I mean, I'll use a statistic, and I'm sure you know a lot about this with your suicide prevention work, but when I conceived Q a couple of years ago, it was 25% of people considered themselves to be lonely, which was already staggering to me and terrifying and heartbreaking. That I checked it recently, and it's like 50 to 60% of people today consider themselves to be lonely. And I think there's many big pieces we could easily pull from the ether to say this is one of the contributing factors. But I guess, how does that make you feel that so many people are struggling with connection?
It makes me feel terrible. And it makes me feel terrible because I've been there. I've felt lonely. I know what lonely feels like. I've felt it this year and had to pull myself out of it. It's a process to reach out to your friends and talk to them. And it's why I do what I do. So I lost a buddy 6 years ago this week, actually. 6 years ago this week, I lost a buddy to suicide. I had no idea he was struggling. We played in a band together. He asked, can we meet up over Thanksgiving break to play some music? And it was one of those things, he never came home to do that with us. And I don't know if there was a way for me to have reached through to him, but I that lives with me, right? I always do wonder, what could be the thing that reaches out to someone and say you're not alone, right? Even we played in a band. We were gonna meet up again. The band wasn't over. And we continued that band on after him. But it's one of those things, is there a message you can put out to people to let them know that they're not alone? I don't know, but I do know that I'm going to try. And I also know that every person's life matters. So the service of letting people know that they matter and that they're not alone and that it's okay to reach out for help is something that I value extremely deeply. And I think overall, there certainly are ways that we can, as a society, come back to real life experiences, which could be a great thing about AI. If it breaks the internet, if it breaks social media, we might really step back into, yeah, that Facebook stuff, like everything's just AI now. It's not as valuable. Like maybe we'll get outside a little more. I don't know. That's part of my hope. As someone who runs a social media agency, that's part of my hope. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
It's a nice note to end on because it speaks a lot to your character. It's that the work you do is you're living in a world that acts a certain way, but you would like it to act a different way. And so it's, you've got to be in the conversation to steer the conversation. And but the resounding element of it is the humanity in it, right? Is that, okay, look, maybe if this were to come to pass and the world were to change in this way, it would affect me negatively professionally, but actually it would be better overall because life would be better, because people would be better, and all the things that are seemingly most important to you would be realized, unlike they are in the social media world. Would that be true to say?
Yeah, I don't know how much it would affect me negatively professionally. In the sense that I think if social media goes away tomorrow, I'll still be able to create videos that resonate with other humans and keep the humanity of that visual medium, right? That's my goal always. It doesn't matter if it's on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, whatever. I just want to put real human stories out there and help people sell products and services that do good for other people, right? I work for a financial advisor who significantly helps people with their financial lives and livelihood, right? That is a good thing for me to be marketing and help him create. And he's also just a great human being overall. So I have no issue doing that on any medium. And if video were to go away tomorrow and I couldn't do that, I think I'd find other ways. It would be events. It would be, it's other things that I've already dabbled in where I think I would just lean into. And that's one of the benefits of what we do as business owners is we can produce the good through various different mediums. You're sitting in front of a painting that you were drawing and, you've got these live events that you want to do and you've got this podcast. There's so many different mediums in this room basically that you're doing, and it's the same thing for me or any business owner or any creative is that you can create for good for others and push humanity forward in that way. And I think, I look at music a lot as an example. A lot of musicians throughout all of history have come forward and been the advocates for the big changes in government. And, even look at U.S. history alone, like the number of musicians who spoke out against various policy changes and whatnot. And it's happening a lot today. A lot of musicians put it in their music, and that's where the community begins. It's that emotion. It's that group of people coming together for something that's seemingly not important, right? Music is, you hear it all the time, but it affects the big world around us. It affects government, it affects all of it. So I think when you break it down to it, like, be a creative for good. And I think that's what you and I are both trying to do. And I don't think it will ever hurt us professionally to do that.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you for being open and vulnerable. I'm going to give you a chance to ask a question now. You have one question about absolutely anything for me.
Okay.
And I'll answer it.
If you could go back to 24, 25, what would you tell that person?
That I'm autistic. Like, truly, like to have that awareness then, I mean, it would have just changed my life in so many ways. There's a lot of it's affected me in so many ways. So to be able to go back and give myself that information, I've been searching for it for a long, long time, and so that's what I would ask, or what I would share.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that answer.
Well,
Know something that affects the way you interact with the world.
Absolutely, and how I connect with people, and how I connect with myself, and I think that's again where we started. This is like being able to communicate with yourself and feel yourself and understand yourself is something I struggled with for most of my life, but I saw that and I spent a lot of time and a lot of energy over the last 10 plus years really trying to get to the answers and trying to find the wisdom that I needed to. And again, I'll come back to the beginning. For me, it was through other people, right? It was like the mirrors of people and the mirrors of experiences that were important to me. It was how do I shape up differently to people? And again, I looked for patterns, and that was a really useful tool for me. But it took me a long time. So yes, I would go back and I would inform myself of that reality and build my life again from there. I did a podcast recording earlier, and the host, I'm completely blanking. I'm going to leave it on there. I'm going to leave it on a blank cliffhanger because I can't remember exactly what he said, and I don't want to misquote it, but it was quite poignant and it made me think about it a lot. Anyway, this is about you, and really this has been great, and really it's been nice to get to know you in this way, and I think that I've learned a lot today, and a lot of the stuff you shared resonates with me. I've had similar experiences in many cases, so I appreciate it. It's affirming in that way. There's a lot of patterns there. So thank you. Thank you for being my first guest.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right.
I'm excited.